Yo, thank you. I'm excited. We got two incredible guests today. But the first I'll get started with, she's a superstar. Like, yo, we don't get a chance to do what we do without people like her in this world. So I won't go say much more. June Ambrose.
Mwah. Hello. I love that I get to close out. That's probably for a reason, because if I went first, y'all probably wouldn't have came back tomorrow. So this is good.
So we're gonna get a chance.
We're
gonna get a chance to have
It's
a
not
very
cold.
no,
Sorry.
it's not.
I was told it was really cold. I was going to wear lawn johns and like a snorkel, but I just put on my lid and I prayed, and this feels great.
Yes, and I had jacket and a hoodie when I got up here, and the lights is hot.
Exactly. No, it feels like I feel like I'm at home. I feel like I'm with family, which is always a good feeling when you're walking into a space. So thank you.
And as you all know, free game isn't about us. It's about you guys, right? June has a ton of experience. She styled every event that's mattered culturally. She styled every person that matters culturally, right? I think her reputation speaks for herself, and she has tons of experience to offer. So please start thinking about the questions that you would like to ask. And anything for myself, same, June. For me, the thing that was most interesting, like knowing without ever spending tons of time with you, you decided to take on basketball for women with Puma. And that was something I was like, like she could do anything.
She's 5'2". What does she know about basketball, right?
And no, less about that, because I knew you would have a vision for it.
Yeah.
But talk to me about that. Talk to me about your approach. Talk to me about the thought process and just how you wanted to connect and how you wanted to make people feel.
Yeah.
Because I think the feeling is the thing that I love most.
Well, it's a really good conversation to have because it is about culture shifting. And next year will mark 30 years I've been incorporated in business for myself after
Hold on,
leaving.
pause. Can we get a round of
Thank you. And for me, and starting my career was always about artist development. It was about character development. It was about costume design because I didn't have the access, the traditional access that a stylist would have to walk into a designer showroom and get stuff. But it was bigger than just putting clothes together. It was about changing the narrative, shifting the culture. And in the space in which I entered was hip hop music. And I wanted it to be hip hop music because I felt it should be popular culture. Because these amazing poets and being able to put looks to the lyrics was such a huge responsibility because I knew that would be the narrative in which leads us into where we are now. So I wanted to take that same approach in entering into this role as creative director in my design role at Puma in the same way. I was launching women's basketball and there was no proven history. There was no benchmark for it. It was a new division. We all know, women in basketball is a very underserved, communicated space. And I was up for the challenge. And when I signed on to work with the brand, it was literally, I signed my contract a week before the pandemic. They shut New York, everyone down, and we were locked away, which was probably the best thing that could have, I know it sounds crazy, but it was one of the best things that could have happened to me because I was really able to really home in and focus. I had nothing else to do but think about, once we come out on the other side of this pandemic, what is that girl going to look like? Who is that customer? What is this collection going to look like? I had to literally use my AI, my authentic intelligence. There was nothing artificial about what I was being tasked to do. So I really had to really think about the blueprint in which I took in the music business. And that blueprint was simply think about who you are trying to attract, what you are trying to convey. And in this space, it's like life is a sport, and I've always played it to win. And when I thought about women in basketball, I thought, what does off the court look like? Now, Puma is rooted in performance, so we know this. So I'm dealing with the DNA of a brand that knows how to make a really quality performance garment. But I really wanted to speak to that style customer, that stylistic consumer, who may not necessarily play the sport, but their life is a sport. And give kind of context to these women who are on the court. Their mothers, sisters, wives. They're each of us. When you look at the core of who they are, that's their job, and they're super extraordinary human beings and athletes. And I had to give that a voice, and I had to commercialize it enough so that it wouldn't be something that was niche. And when we launched it, it was called High Court. And we launched it with 20 SKUs. Now, you know, when you're launching a division, you don't get the luxury or a capsule or whatever. You get 3 or 4 pieces. But I went in very aggressive, and I was unapologetic, and I wanted to shift the culture and really make my presence known at the brand. And I knew that I had a bigger responsibility. I had marching orders, and I was brought in by Jay-Z and Emory Jones. And I met with the CEO, and I met with Adam Petrick, and they asked me if, what I was thinking, and they said women's basketball was on the table. And I sat and I thought about it for a second, and I said, she needs me. The same way that I felt needed in the world of music, in the music space. So I was gonna be as bold and brazen and fearless as possible. And I put my all into it, and we had a very successful launch. The imprints and the impressions and the sell-throughs were tremendous. So I did my job. I was then asked to do a co-branded collaboration. It was never the intention for me to come to the brand and be consumer-facing, but because of how I delivered the first collection for High Court, and they felt, okay, we're onto something. Something so much that the CEO of Puma North America in sales mentioned that what I had done has shifted the culture and the narrative for the brand, and that they now sit in a space that speaks to streetwear and speaks to sport and style in a way that they hadn't spoken in years. So I knew that I was onto something, and I knew that the path of resistance was worth it, like everything that we do in life. Yeah. When we're creating something from inception, when we have to carry and birth something, it is the most selfless thing you can do, and it's a task that, not just a mother knows, but anyone with a creative spirit and knows how to manifest and build and develop something. I think we all embody that. Whether you're a sperm or whether you're an egg, you have the ability to create life, yes. And together we're greater. So, thankfully, the team that I put in place, the team that was surrounding me, I didn't do it alone. I'm so grateful for, my partners, during that time. And it was a difficult time because it was during the pandemic. But like I said, it was probably the best thing that could have happened because it was my only focus at the time. And what came out of that was superstar energy.
So no, please.
This feels like a talk show Truman experience right now. It's like, cue the clap. We're in the living room. It's like, this is wild. It feels so just, I don't know.
So we'll add some layers because you've managed to shift culture over 3 decades. And I think I'll get a chance to introduce someone else that's managed to shift culture over several decades. Yo, Jazz, you want to join us? Thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
So let's add some depth to the conversation, right? Because we in the back and we rapping before you got in. And I'm like, yo, somebody said, yo, they boycotted the Grammys and got the first rap Grammy. I said, somebody fact check that because I'm saying it. Please make sure. Like, yo, did y'all hear me? Got the first rap Grammy.
Oh, cue the clap.
No, because listen, I'm in awe because y'all are superheroes for me, right? Like we get out here and work and we all feed off energy, right? And what y'all have managed to do is incredible. Please talk to me about that and how it's transitioning to what you're doing with Class 88.
Oh man, when we boycotted, we didn't boycott for the reason that everyone thinks that we boycotted because hip hop was so new. We just felt that they were doing hip hop a disservice. At that point in time, hip hop was arguably the number 3-2 genre of music, and they didn't want to televise it. No disrespect to any other category, but if you have 12 country and Western categories. You can have 11 and give hip hop 1. And they were like, no. And we were just like, we're not coming. And it was really because the year prior, I'm sitting in my living room with my mom watching the Grammys on television. And a year later, I'm telling my friends that we're nominated for a Grammy. And now you're telling me that my friends are going to call me a liar because they're not going to get a chance to see me on television. We were just like, if they're not going to show it, we're not coming. We had no idea that the impact was going to be what it was. You know, we just believed that they were doing a disservice to to the genre. And we were like, we're not coming. You know, we didn't come, Public Enemy didn't come. Everybody who was nominated said that they weren't coming.
It's crazy when you start to think about intent, right? Because you lived history in a way that I don't think, you just said it at the time, you didn't realize. You knew you were doing the right thing in a moment.
Yes.
And all of us, like every day, there's something that we all got to stand on. And I think Astor, in every session we've all said in, like, yo, if we're not willing, if we're not willing to stand up for us, we can't have an expectation that no one else will. And I think for me, that's something that.
Cue the clap.
But yo, it's you go from that to now and everything you guys are doing now with Class of '88. Please talk to me about it. Talk to me about the podcast.
I didn't realize that in pretty much 1987, there might have been 40 groups, 40 hip-hop groups.
Yep.
In 1988, it might have been 400. Like, that was the explosion.
That's crazy.
Like, that was the explosion. And to be a part of that explosion, we came out in late 85, 86, so we were kind of in the middle of that explosion when all of these groups and all of these albums came out. And you know, the early days of hip-hop was a little shaky because we were fighting for our legitimacy. That, you know, back talking about the Grammys, that they didn't want to televise it. That went across the board. That was media, that this is something that's not going to last. You know, this is a bunch of kids playing around. And when it's something that you do and someone kind of discredits it, you stick your chest out and you fight for it even harder. So to watch that explosion, you really stuck your chest out because it was kind of like, okay, I'm watching this happen, and I'm watching this happen on a global basis, that it just turned into the thing. It was hip-hop was here. You know, if there was ever any doubt that this was a genre that was teetering on being extinct, 1988 showed you that not only was it here, but it was here to stay. So the whole basis on this podcast is to talk about 1988 being the explosion of hip hop all the way across the board, talking to a lot of the groups that came out in 88, what was that point like? Because everybody had that point, especially if you came out before 88, of I don't know if this is gonna work. And so when 88 came, everybody stuck their chest out. Everybody held hands.
Yes.
You know, it was very, very diverse tours. You know, going out on the road with, you know, Run DMC and Houdini and JJ Fad and Public Enemy.
Do y'all know these names? Just making sure y'all following.
So it was just, you know, it was really the explosion that you felt legitimized. And we just really wanted to talk about that and talk about the people who were there when that happened.
So think about this, because we talk a lot about journeys, and a lot of you in the audience are starting, right? The importance, what I'm hearing, the importance of the podcast for me is just like, yo, we're all starting, myself too. I'm always starting and vulnerable to fail at the next thing every day. And I got a million questions that I want to sit and ask, but I hope somebody else got mics out there, because we're gonna let y'all come into the conversation. But for me, like, what I get from it is hip hop is running the entire globe. And in 87, how many? 40 groups?
40 groups.
To 488 to owning a planet in 2023. I think for me, it makes me want to continue to try, even if I fail, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I think I pride myself as a person who wants to always move things forward and try to evolve things. And I hope from the last couple of days, that's what you guys are getting as well. All right, so we got mics outside. Uh-oh, they're coming already. Yo, we made sure that we kept about 25, 30 minutes for conversation. So let's jump in. Here we go.
No doubt. Malcolm Guevara from New York City. DJ Jazzy Jeff from Philly, City of Brotherly Love. Quincy Jones produced Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He had the Jordan, the Fives. Product placement, NBC Channel 4. Could you recap the special appearances that you made on the TV show and how it came about? Because Fresh Prince was your man, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When Will and I first started, before we put out any records, Will said, I want to be a movie star. And I said, I want to do the music for the movies. So it was a set plan. There was a lot of people that thought, when Will went to Hollywood, that we kind of split up. And realizing that what we did was just manifesting what we said we wanted to do in the first place.
That's dope.
So we were on tour, and he got a call and said, hey, I got to go out to L.A., and you got to understand, this is 1988, 89, and he's like, I'm going to go out to L.A. because I got to read for this TV show. And he goes to L.A., and he comes back the next day, and he says, hey, I got a TV show. In my mind, this was Will with a camcorder and his friend. I didn't put two and two together.
Not Quincy Jones, not the whole thing.
None of that. He's like, I was at Quincy's house, and I did this audition, and we signed the deal that night. And it's not like you thought he was lying, but you just kind of like, yeah, you got a camcorder. And, so he went out to LA to shoot the pilot, and we went to his house, and he showed the pilot, and I was like, oh, shit, I know all these other people. Like, you got real actors on this TV show. I'm like, yo, I know him, and I know her. And I realized that it was a real TV show. So about 2 weeks later, he was just like, hey, they want you to come out and do an appearance on the show. And I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I had zero interest. I wasn't mature enough to understand that you can do multiple things. I thought that me doing television, me being so focused on music, I thought me doing television was meant for me to stop doing music. So I'm like, I can't let anything derail that. So no. And Will basically came to me and said, we want you to do 3 episodes. If you do 1 and you love it, you got 2 to look forward to. If you do 1 and you hate it, you only got 2 more to do. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And it was 6 years.
Was getting jiggy with it before or after?
After.
We did Getting Jiggy with It after?
After.
Do you remember Getting Jiggy with It? Yeah. I costume designed that video.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I forget. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a big video. We spent a lot of money.
Yes. When people weren't spending that kind of money, too.
No, it was a big video. We shot like 3 days. I had to build costumes and design stuff in 2 nights, 20 dancers. It was, it was a movie.
Yes.
In 3 days, yeah.
All right. I like that. Hold, pause. You sitting there talking, and you was like, yo, when was Get Jiggy With It?
Yeah.
That was like a real light flex.
No. I was like, I have to remember.
Just like.
Yeah.
Who got the next one for us?
Hi, my name is Jennifer Aldridge, born and raised in Detroit. I know West Side specifically.
What's up?
No shade. The West Side of this side. But June, my question is for you. I told you in the hallway I love you, and I know we could talk about your amazing career, but this question is a little personal for me. I just had a baby 2 months ago.
Oh, congrats.
And
Welcome, Rob.
thank you. He's at home. I was gonna bring him, but he likes to eat a lot. It's too much going on. But I've always admired your relationship with your children, specifically your daughter.
Yeah.
And so I want to know how, being a mother, you've navigated these spaces. We keep talking about Women Up Next and all of that. As I make the transition back into the workforce, it's like, how did you navigate elevating, continue to elevate, continue to make your name be known while being a dope-ass mom? So.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Thank you, because it is a life change. But the way you look, real fly, you have not lost yourself, which is that's how you got to keep it. Give yourself a little grace, and pace yourself. I think that, when you have this life-changing other person, I think it drives you more. It definitely gives you something more to push you and motivate you. And knowing that you have a little boy, little girl? Yeah, I have a son and I have a daughter. And you just being able to, they're so different, but they're so the same. They both were raised in the industry from the time they were both out of my stomach. They were on music video sets, they were on movies, they were on commercials, they were, they're always with me. They've traveled the world, they've had passports since they were early. If you, just keep them close. Keep them close, and ask them for permission constantly to allow you to be who you are. And that's what I did. Yeah.
That's a really good one. The permission is a good one. I'm gonna use that one, June. My kids would love for me to ask them for permission for anything.
It works. It does. Yeah. Give me a little space.
My household
You better give me a
up.
little space and grace. Just a little space.
Who we got next?
I'm next. So I'm in a space in my life where I'm pivoting. I left I was dismissed from the corporate world through layoffs. I don't know.
okay.
Yeah.
Their loss.
So yeah, their loss. But I'm pivoting and I'm realizing that I have these dreams that I may not have necessarily experience in. And a lot of people who are also graduating, they have dreams that they don't have on paper experience in. So my question is, how do you push past the fear, but also allow people to have that understanding that I can do this even if I don't have the on paper experience?
Yeah. Is that for me?
Both of you,
Yeah.
all three of you, either,
Yeah.
but you first, obviously.
Okay, I gotta tell the story. Wait, I've gotta tell the story. So I'm going through my DMs, and there's a message from her in my DM saying she's in her car with her friend. She's like, we're driving, to the forum, blah, 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 and they're talking about this event. And they're like, and we hear June Amber's gonna be there, and I responded back, see you tomorrow. So when I see her outside, and we were taking pictures, and I was like, wait a minute. She's like, I'm the girl from the car. I'm like, oh my God. So, the power of social media and the connectivity that, the platforms afford us. I was so grateful to meet you. You have such a beautiful spirit. There really isn't anything, you are, what you want and what you want to attract. You have the power to do that with words and with actions. There's really nothing that should get in your way of that. You have to be as relentless as you was, and you put it out in the universe. You were like, I'm going and I'm going to meet June Ambrose, and we met, and I responded. Life is that way. There's so many things that I've manifested from just saying it, and then calling on it, and seeing it, and knowing that I deserve it, and anything you want is yours. You are worthy of any, thing that you have promised for yourself. Don't wait for someone to give it to you. Don't ask for permission. You got to take it.
Well said. Dad, you want to add something on?
Listen, I am very much so a person that believes in following your heart. I did not go to college. I went the exact opposite way. In the mid-'80s, when you would tell your mom's friends that you were a DJ, the first thing they would say is the radio. It's like, no, not the radio, in the street. And that don't really sound, or it didn't sound too cool then, trying to be a street DJ. But it was something that I believed in. It was something that, made me happy, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't talk about, is doing what makes you happy. Because a lot of times, the things that are laid out for you may make you successful, but it may not make you happy. And what I realized is it was more important for me to be happy. Once I became happy at what I was doing, the success came on top of that.
Well said.
I have a quick question, I'm so sorry. What area are you trying to get into? You didn't say that.
I'm in fashion and content creation.
So content creation. And are you content creating?
Yes.
And are you making fashion?
Yes.
So you're halfway there.
There you go.
And you're networking.
There you go.
And that's what we need to continue to do, is speak to each other. How can you leverage relationships, new friendships, to get to the next step? Everything is, part of course. We have to constantly say it and do it. It'll come.
And the last thing I'll add is show your work. Like, be accountable and being intentional about showing your work. Showing your work doesn't necessarily mean that people see it the way you see it, but they will, right? Just show your work.
Yep.
All right, who's up next?
Hey y'all. Hey June.
Hi.
This question is for you. My name is Sarah. I work in Detroit. I'm not born and raised like Jennifer, but I remember you from last year. What up, boo? I stay on the west side too.
Just set the bar high.
So I'm gonna try to kind of make this succinct.
Okay.
I work in corporate. I am one black woman. I'm a color and materials designer from Ford. So I am the only black woman designing in the automotive industry out of the big three. That's not to say every day when I go into different meetings, it's not hard. When I go in and I talk to these corporate, white-collar, white people, right? I have mood boards, I have my color and material palettes, my inspiration, and a lot of the times I actually pull a lot of I feel like my creative energy from you. You've always inspired me from growing up till now. And I'm dead ass because, because some of your mantras being like no excuses, live it out loud. Even some of the colors that you put on Jay-Z, I put on my mood boards. Some of the music that you've put artistry to, I put on my mood boards, and I've created it and been able to transpire that inspiration into actual materials.
That's amazing.
So you are in rooms that you have no idea that you're in just because this little black girl is inspired by you. That's the first thing I have to say. And actually, I'm not a little black girl. I'm a grown woman with 4 kids. But I say all
But
that
there's a
to
little
say,
black girl in all of us, right?
yes. I say all that to say your inspiration and the way that you cross over into so many different streams of creativity obviously inspires a lot of us. And to me, you've always had a universe. You've always created your own universe. But with Juniverse, I know, I was good. But with Juniverse, you've kind of put that out there a little bit recently. So I guess my question, if there ever was a perfect question, I don't know. It feels like it's not. I can say so many or ask so many things. My question would be to you. Through Juniverse, your specific, your personal project, how do you see or envision cultivating more creative directors and more creative input that globally impacts, multiple industries and crosses over just like you do? I feel like, you just have such a large megaphone, you know what I mean, in different lanes that haven't even came to fruition yet.
No, it's a good question. It's layered, but I think I've always been intentional, and I walk knowing that my work is not done. I walk knowing that there are others that are counting on me. I walk knowing that I need to create space for other creatives. I think I continue to do that. Every project I take on, I'm always doing it knowing that it's bigger than me. So. And you said it, it's like, the Juniverse is a big space, but it's a space that wants to connect with other stars, other universes, other individuals like yourself. And the fact that you've confirmed that there is an impact that I necessarily can't see, but I can feel. Because I do feel the love when people are like, oh, don't give you your flowers. I was like, oh, I get my flowers. I feel, it's like people be like, oh, I believe in God, but we can't see him. But what's the difference between me feeling your energy and saying, and all the things that I do, knowing that there's something on the other side of me that's greater, and that's you. So thank you.
It's me? All right. Okay, cool. Peace to all on the panel. I appreciate, and we all appreciate, not only just you standing on the panel right here, but your contributions historically. So quick clap up for them, for all their work.
Cue the clap.
You clap.
And I'm sorry, I'm a journalist, so this is natural, and an MC. But so So in terms of one of the sayings that I live by, I consider myself a student of the game and a mogul in the making, and I think that translates between not just footwear and sneakers, but also music. I know there's a large red thread between Hip Hop 50 and hip hop culture and sneaker culture, and so I do a lot of research, and I think there was one panel previously that talked about just the importance of research. Can you still hear me? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The importance of research when it comes to doing what you're trying to do. So actually, my question is for you, James. In just looking at the landscape of post-COVID and the pandemic and everything, kind of what it's done to the retail space and sneaker boutiques in particular, whether that's mom and pop shops all the way up to major franchises like the Foot Lockers or the Champs or what have you. What can people like me help because sneaker boutiques are near and dear to my connection to footwear. The not necessarily the major brands or the major franchises like a Foot Locker, but like Miami in particular, like Shoe Gallery, right? Like when I was in high school, I went to Miami-Dade College and Shoe Gallery was right across the street. So every day, sometimes, after school, sometimes during school, I would go and they would have events and there was a sense of community there that I couldn't get in like a Foot Locker. And I see something like that, obviously, with what you're doing with, I'm near social status, be social. So in terms of whether it's a journalist or, other things that I got going on, how can I, because you're doing everything that you could do to continue, your business along, but how can I support you, me and others in this room, support you in other retail spaces that contribute and give back to the community?
Honestly, I think we're doing it already. We just got to show up for each other, right? We got to show up for each other. And I think I heard, was it earlier when somebody said the Jewish dollar stays in their community, what was it for? 20 days, 30 days? The white dollar 6 days? And ours is 3 hours? Like, yo, support us. Support us, look after us. Make sure that we are embracing our culture and we're working together to create experiences for each other and show up for each other, yo. Like,
Wow.
but what Dwayne is doing here with Pensole and what Jazz is doing and what June is doing, like, yo, it's just about giving each other our props and our flowers and understanding, like, yo, we're not competing against each other. We're additive. There's enough space for all of us. There's 40 million of us, right? Like, yo, this ain't about nothing. We could, if all the influence come from us, then why aren't we all eating how we should eat? Why aren't we all standing each other up? Why aren't we all stood up? Does that make sense? Absolutely. Like, so, yo, just keep standing up for each other.
Cue the clap. Cue the clap.
Yo,
Up top.
is it on? Yep. Yes. What up, man? I'm about to ask a question. No. I'm Jeff from Cleveland, Ohio. First of all, I want to say y'all guys are an inspiration to me. All three of you are living legends. That's number one. But this question is for June. She's like the hot commodity today. All right. So in Cleveland, one thing we do in the barbershop is we had these arguments about what's the best hood movie and all that. So you got Paid in Full, Menace, and you got Belly. Belly's one of my favorite movies, right? And what's so dope about Belly is you can put it on mute and it's visually beautiful. And
Keisha.
You don't know, she did a costume for Belly. So what was your inspiration behind Belly? And another question within the question is, where the hell was that Jack and Nas? No,
Wait, I didn't hear it.
Let me finish. Where you find that Jack and Nas when he came out the barbershop?
First of all, Belly was like 20 years ago. Like 30 years. Wait, I'm just gonna, I had to forecast what hip hop was gonna look like in the future, 10, 15 years later. So, I went to Japan, I was researching in many different ways, but each character was developed in a way that was elevating the hip hop voices. But it also was very authentic to the roots and where they came from, where they were living and in the environment. So every character was aspirational, but still rooted in what I felt that they were worthy of. And, you know, we launched Evisus. The first opening scene, however do you want it? That was all custom, you know, Python shiny suits. I love shiny suits. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a shiny suit. And, you know, that opening scene with DMX and Nas, and they're walking in the club. You know, I built those looks. It was a custom fabric that I had developed because I wanted a certain sheen on the Python. So it was very intentional. Every moment, from the wigs to the jewelry, to the jeans, and the jacket that you're asking for, I have no idea where I found it. You're welcome.
Hello.
I owe you a picture. I know, I remember.
No, not a picture. So my name is Chelsea B. Thank you guys so much for just being on this panel. True inspiration. My question was for June. So I heard you touch on like WNBA and how like women's sport or women's basketball is not as supported as our counterparts. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to know, in what ways do you think us as creatives, designers, artists can be of service to that industry? And also, I whipped up a hat last night. I'm a crochet apparel designer, and I want to know if I could gift you that.
Oh, I would love that. First of all, you're so swaggy. I mean, like, your style is so amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, you know, like the same way that the NBA got a dress code, and it was like a prerequisite they had to look a certain way. Those girls now have that same runway. And as a designer, those are clients and opportunities for you to get your designs and ideas to them. They're no different than a pop star or a rap star or a NBA player. They too, I think if you start to put an emphasis on their style and give them something to own, it'll start to catch on. But we gotta show up to the games though too. You know, that's the big, you know, you gotta go watch them play. You know, I mean, that's really why there's such a pay gap. They don't create the same, you know, enthusiasm and energy that the male teams do. So it starts from the ground up. But I always encourage people, those girls, they need, you know, they need fashion. Yeah. And they don't have as much money as the men, so they can definitely work with an up and coming. That'll be great.
Where we at?
Okay, right here. You guys are amazing. This is amazing. I have a question for anyone on the stage. So, what is like a personal or professional heartbreak that you've had, and how have you kind of rebounded from that?
Jazz, you up, bro. You up, bro. I'm staying away from this one.
Personal heartbreak?
Personal heartbreak? Somebody got a bottle?
Personal, I want to hear it. Let's go.
Personal heartbreak was really the music industry. Me explaining to someone what the music industry is finding out that Santa Claus isn't real. But finding that out as an adult. You know, saying, you know, you have all of these expectations if, you know, oh my God, if I can get my music out there and people like it and I can sell this, I can take care of my family. And that's really not the case, you know. And I was the one in the group that asked the questions. And, you know, I tell the story that, you know, when Will and I got our record deal, you know, I came home and I told my mom, like, we signed a record deal. And she was like, that's great, baby. How much do you get paid at your job? And I said, you know what? Hold on. So I got on the phone and I was like, so actually, how much do we make at the job? And they started going through this, well, you get 10 points and you get this. And I'm kind of like, well, shit, I cut grass and you paid me $50. I worked at Roy Rogers and you paid me $3 an hour.
Y'all know where Roy Rogers is? All right, go ahead.
How much is a point worth? And they were like, well, it can be this or it can be that, and it can. And I'm sitting there like, this shit is confusing. I don't understand. I knew more on how I was getting my money from Roy Rogers than a record deal. So I was just like, well, I'm not really understanding. And all of a sudden, I was a troublemaker. And I was like, I was a troublemaker. All I wanted to do is tell my mom how much money I was making at my job.
Yes.
And I realized something wasn't right because once I started going around asking everybody, nobody had the answer. So I was like, yo, are we all blind? And are we all cool with that?
Yes.
Like, and that's pretty much what it's been. Like, I can't give you that answer today. I don't know anybody in the music industry that can give you that answer. That you can sell millions of records and somebody's gonna give you a check and you have no idea of cross-examining to find out if what they gave you was real. And that's a heartbreak when I was doing art. I was doing something that I love to do and realized that this didn't make out right. So that was the biggest heartbreak ever.
Chaos and honesty can't live in the same place. And anytime you're in a situation where somebody can't explain something to you perfectly, know some shit's about to happen.
Was the question to understand, what was the point of the question? I want to just understand. And I'm going to tell you why.
They're trying to find out who broke your heart, Joe.
No, I'm very curious to why she wanted to know about the heartbreak.
Beat 'em up, but the point of the question was, I'm here to be inspired, and it's 100% delivered on that, right?
Right.
And so I know that pain is information. I don't believe in suffering all the time, but it's always inspiring to hear from people how they've come back from something that they really had to figure out that was hard for them. So,
Right.
yeah.
I know that's a great answer. I personally like to unpack trauma. And that trauma can be as simple as something that didn't make me feel human or alive or happy. Joy is what I celebrate. I don't necessarily recollect things that brought me pain, but I think about the things that bring me pleasure. So I want to encourage us all to celebrate those moments and use those as a sense memories more so than the trauma that we've been inflicted. So that's why I asked. I think it's a great question, and I understand it now that you've explained it. But that's my side of, that's how I continue to be happy and joyful.
I love your perspective.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back here.
What up?
How you doing? My question is for any of the Jays on stage. First off,
Is it really? Oh, yeah. Oh, wow, look at that.
in addition, my name is Jerome, and I'm from Chicago.
Oh, Jays.
Sound like we about to make a band, bro.
That's right. Word up.
But I'll keep it short. So we talked a lot about purpose, passion, and how everybody on stage has followed that in some way. But we also talk about culture and how it informs, but it also comes from us. So out of any of your experiences, when was the first time you remember not only knowing that culture informed your creation, but that you yourself were creating and influencing culture live?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. You want to start?
No, Jazz or June,
Go.
y'all got this one.
Go for it. Oh.
No, Jazz would go. Well, one
Oh,
of
you
y'all
said-
two. No, one of you
because-
got this.
Well, do you want to go?
No, you go.
I don't want to be a verbal whore about it. I don't want to chew up. We were talking about this earlier. It was like culture is what you create, and somehow culture has been put into like these race boxes. Like, oh, this is black culture, this is white culture. It's like, but when I fully understood what culture was, it was like creating a community, immersing myself into something that then influenced others, that then created a gathering spot, and then protecting that culture, and then helping it and using that energy that you are creating and experiencing to influence others and bring them along the way. Somehow the narrative has kind of changed. Wouldn't you agree? Like everyone's trying to figure out, what is culture? How do I get culture? Oh my God, all the corporate folks are like, how do we figure out culture? Like, we want to be culturally correct, and it's like, you become a culture vulture because you don't want to bring the people that you are inspired by along the way with you. You just want to take, and culture is what you create within, not from outside. So, that's my thoughts.
Jazz, you ain't escaping this one, bro.
doing something on a block in West Philadelphia that
I couldn't help myself.
doing something on a block in West Philadelphia that you end up being in South Africa and people are singing every word of every song that you ever done made me understand the reach of the culture. Because that wasn't my intent. I had zero idea. I was really one of, and June probably will attest to this. Very early on, most of hip hop traveled abroad and went to McDonald's and stayed in a hotel. You did not immerse yourself in the culture because you were coming from the Queensbridge projects. You were coming from Richard Allen projects in Philadelphia. You were coming from a place that you were very comfortable. And even though your music went global, you were kind of like, I'm not used to all of this. And you had, those were learning process that you had to go through, in spreading the culture out, that you were kind of unsure, why am I in London? Why is everyone in front of me white, but they know every song and every lyric to every song that I'm doing? That's culture.
Yeah, well said.
And for me, I had to constantly be curious and learn about other cultures in order to be able to add to my creativity. So I knew that we what we were creating on our end of the, in our world was something they were attracted to. But I was so curious always, and I think, to be infinitely curious is the best sense memory of your childlike life, and don't let that go, when you feel nervous or you have butterflies, these are things that when you are young and you fall in love and you're experiencing things for the first time, these are the magical moments you want to tap into all the time. It's the fairy dust, and especially for the creators in the room or anyone in the room. It's endorphins. It releases endorphins. It's intoxicating. I want you all to experience that.
Dope. All right, make it a
Wow,
good
you're
one.
closing it out. Ooh, no pressure.
How are you doing?
It's like the principal.
My name is Miranda. This question's for June. You talked a little about how you're sort of pioneering this women's basketball style area, and I really wanted to hear more on who you see is up next, brand-wise, creative-wise, that is running along with you, and what do we have to bring as other women that want to be in this space? You think is the key thing to bring along, to be able to run along with you and pioneer this space as it's creating its history now?
Who sent you? No. There's a mole. No, I mean, such a good
I don't want no secrets. I just want to know, what do you see as the key to be able to keep creating in that space?
Oh, I think that when I launched women's basketball for Puma, it was to ignite it. It was to set it off. And then our female athletes that had partnerships and co-branded collabs, it was just to open it up for them. So I just opened up the path. You're going to start to see, it's happening. It's not like we invented it. Jordan's doing it. There are other brands. I mean, everyone's on board. It only grows from here. And our female basketball athletes are on fire right now. Yeah. You got some girls who are lighting matches and throwing up gang signs, and it's working. And, I mean, listen, you gotta be brazen. You gotta have like a waiting to exhale moment. And I think that it's like, and that's where we're at. I think that we can continue to open doors wherever you can, continue to communicate, continue to create opportunity for others to come after you. I stood on the shoulders of people that came before me, and that's what we have to continue to do. I don't know if I answered the question, but I know too much that I can't really say right now, so I have to. Who sent you?
All right, so the clock said we can take one more. We got one more. We can squeeze.
Oh, whoa. You don't even need a mic. Let's go.
Stand up so we hear you. And say it with your chest, too. Say it with your chest.
It's a pink cardigan.
I'm gonna keep this short and brief. In the footwear industry, after being a dodger trap. So how can we push innovation in the footwear industry and avoid being content with nostalgia?
How do we push?
So you don't want retro, is what you're saying. You're saying retro is done. You want new last, new souls, new everything. Yeah, you want new stuff. Yeah. He wants innovation.
That's for June and
Look at you. I shouldn't have opened my mouth.
Yo, listen. This
I've
is
been
this
doing
is a
way
you
too
and
much
this is a
talking.
you and Jazz show, so I'm deferring to you on this one. No.
No, I mean, you're saying what you want. You're just like, I understand that retro is a thing for you big brands, but, when are you opening up some new lasts? When are you easing it, right?
I'm gonna say something to y'all different.
That's what he wants to know.
Consume something different. Open up your minds to receiving new things. Because listen, we got tons of ideas and tons of things that we want to work on. And I'm sure we've all been in a space. But like, yo, if you guys don't support it, then largely it doesn't happen. And it's our job to connect and tell stories and be involved and understand the whys of why things should exist or not exist, at least from our point of view. But even if you don't support them, don't just say like trash can emoji, right? Yeah. Like, yo, give me something. Like, I don't like this or I don't like that or it didn't connect for this reason. But I see like 5,500 comments of trash can emojis, thumbs down, you suck, you're dead. Like, yo, like, bro, you're killing me. Help me, give me constructive criticism. We still got 3 minutes and 49.
Wait, I think we're onto something though, because we're in the hub, the innovation hub. What's happening in this building? It is the beginning of what you're saying. I walked into this space and I said, this is the future.
Yes.
This is why this program exists, because, consumers like yourself are asking for more. And the talent that's coming out of this will lead us into the next generation and the next, the future of footwear. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
We're gonna take our 3 minutes even though they're trying to kick us off. Come on, give me a hand.
This clock wasn't even going the whole time. All of a sudden it's 3 minutes.
Go ahead, bro. You front and center.
What's going on? My name is Gordon Holiday. I'm a designer based out of Charlotte.
Louder. Say it with your
He's
chest.
like talking so
My
loud.
name is Gordon Holiday. I'm a designer based out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Where you from?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Where?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Go ahead.
This question's for you, DJ Jazzy Jeff. Now, me and my dad used to watch your show. I watched the Fresh Prince every night. Laughing, joking with each other and everything. So I wanted to ask, was there a moment in the show, even though it had a comedic tone, it may address a cultural or significant moment that surprised or challenged you? And how that directly affected you?
Coming from a space that this was absolutely not what I wanted to do, I was a fly on the wall. But I think Will was very, very brave at what he was trying to convey on television. And I watched him have a lot of fights about what he wanted to convey and some of the subject matter that they touched on, on the show, that we were just really trying to show another side. I grew up in West Philly. There were gangs, there were drug dealers. A lot of these guys were my friends. We chose not to really take that approach in our music, but it wasn't a part of our life. It wasn't not there. We knew what was there. We just chose, a different path. And I think that was the exact same thing when it came time to come up with some of these subjects that is kind of like, I know this is a comedic tone, but we need to address some of these things that we go through in West Philly. If Will's supposed to be from West Philly, we're going to talk about some shit that happens in West Philly.
Well said, bro. All right,
Yeah,
right.
hey.
Can you hear me? Christine, quick question on that. Like, I met a guy that once said, I came from Saudi Arabia and I learned to speak English watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So what's the favorite cultural moments? Will always had the greatest sneakers. Like, how do you feel like Fresh Prince has affected culture today, 30 years later?
That's a great question.
Really good
Oh,
question.
man. You know what? Especially back in the late 80s, early 90s, Nike had a division that they would give sneakers to all of the rappers. When we got on the show, the TV division was completely different. So you go to the TV division and they're giving you boxes of stuff that's not out because they want you to wear it on the show. And it really made me understand that you're giving me something, I'm putting these shoes on. There was an episode that when we were in the courtroom and I literally, I started to watch how NBC would kind of tape up any of the logos, but there was a part on the show that I put my feet up and I crossed my feet and the Jordan symbol was on the bottom of my shoe.
No.
And they sent me everything.
That's amazing.
But it made you understand that you didn't realize that because this was pre-social media and this was kind of pre-internet, that representation meant everything to a kid in Norfolk, Virginia. Like, that's what made him want to get Jordans. And it made you start to understand that these are the calling cards that we're putting out about fashion and culture.
And that's how it all evolves and moves forward, right?
Yes.
Like, culture was built. Like, both of you guys have been
The culture you create.
yes, you've created culture over the last 3 decades. So for that, I'll give you a round of applause, because, cue the applause.
Oh, wrap it up.
And this tells us, wrap it up. Yo, that's free game. Thank you.
Thank you.